So this is a 1986 BMW 635 CSI. This is a particularly special one because it was prepared and run by the Works BMW team at the time, Schnitzer, and it was campaigned in some fantastic events, finished third actually in the 1986 Spa 24 Hours, and it's got quite an illustrious driving roster to its history files, including the likes of Emanuele Pirro, Gerhard Berger, Roberto Ravaglia, so it's a special thing. I spent a bit of time in a couple of different 635 CSIs over the past couple of seasons, racing in this heritage touring car grid as part of the Peter Auto weekends, and I absolutely love them. I don't have a touring car background in my modern racing past. It was all single-seaters and sports cars, prototypes and GTs. So it's been really nice to spend some time at the wheel of proper touring car races. This is a 3.5 litre straight six BMW engine with about in excess of 300 horsepower. It's got a 5-speed manual gearbox with a reverse dog leg into first, which actually is great when you're on track on a normal circuit because you then are just left with a 4-speed H pattern to complete the lap. You only use first to pull away. The problem is here at Monza, the first chicane is so tight and the gearing is actually quite long, so you have to find your way down through that dog leg, which is quite stiff and quite difficult to match the revs with your heel and toe blip on the throttle as you're downshifting. So I'm often snatching the rear axle a little bit more than I would like as I turn into the first right-handed apex at the first chicane. So I find that I have to adjust my technique a little bit in this car particularly because I like to trail brake quite a lot, even in some of the older historic cars, the 60s GTs and sports racers. You can always get away with a bit of trail braking, which is traditionally considered quite a modern car racing technique. But this doesn't like it. If you carry the brakes through the turn-in zone too much, you lose the rear. And it's because it's quite long, there's a lot of pendulum effect at play. So to get the most out of it, I bring my braking zone back just a bit to try to complete the heavy deceleration, the heavy braking, whilst I'm still traveling a straight line, get the thing turned, and then on the power nice and early. Well, this is quite a tricky grid because you've got, I think, two classes. We're nowhere near as quick as the slightly younger but faster, more powerful Batmobiles and the Capris and so on. But in the class that this runs in, the 635 is very competitive. It's right up there. And there tends to be a brace of very, very closely matched 635 CSIs that are all going door handle to door handle for the whole length of the hour-long endurance race. I like the way they defy your expectations. So for me, I tend to get a feeling from just looking at a car, roughly what to expect from it. And that comes from the great luxury of jumping in and out of lots of different cars every weekend. And this to me looks very long and very heavy. And so the last thing you expect to find is a really taut chassis that feels very nimble, very responsive, which is exactly what these are. They're quite difficult to drive if you're not used to the engines because all the power is right up top between about 5,500 and 6,500 revs, and down the bottom there's just nothing. It's a recalcitrant muddle, and that makes it very difficult to pull away. But once you get used to keeping it up in the power band, yeah, it's brilliant. I love these races. This weekend it's a 1-hour race. Occasionally I think they're longer, sometimes 2 hours. But 1 hour is fun because it feels like a real sprint. Sometimes I do half of the driving and we change over at the pit stops. Normally I'm encouraging the car's owner to do the whole thing because why wouldn't you? You know, it's not a particularly physical car to drive. Monza specifically is not a physical circuit because the long straights give you time to rest. So it makes sense to get as much seat time if you're an amateur racer and you're here to enjoy your cars. So I don't know if I will actually race this weekend yet. We'll see how it goes.